So you're thinking about having kids. The girl you're talking to, you're dating, stuff like that. She's pressuring you to want to have kids. She's thinking about having kids. Every most people, especially most women, go through a phase of life. They call it the baby rabies phase, where they're obsessed with having a kid. And you're going to find that if you're a guy who's not wanting to have kids, you're going to find that this is going to be a major roadblock to having quote unquote long-term relationship. Okay, I've actually been in relationships with women who I've really cared for, loved, and enjoyed being with, and everything is great except for me not wanting to have more kids. So you're going to find that's going to be a deal breaker for many, many relationships and women. They're going to see that as a red flag. You know, your whole life you're going to have people telling you, when are you going to have kids? When are you going to have babies? If you're in a relationship for a long time, when are you guys going to have kids? Your parents going to be like, when are you going to have grandkids? So yeah, this package all over. Look, this is a great example. Life. You know, when are you going to bring new life into this world? And I ask the question, why would you do that? Why would you want to do that? Think about it, guys. Any thoughtful person would never want to have kids. I mean, if you really think what are you going to bring them into? You're going to bring them into this hellhole? I mean, it's of life. It's constant stress, problems on top of problems, more problems. Every day there's new problems. There's problems all the time. Right now, there are the worst possible things you can imagine that could happen to a person. It's happening right now while I'm making this video. Somewhere in the world, there's something horrible happening to somebody. Like, shit, just waking up is horrible. Like, having to live this life is horrible. What are you going to do? You're bringing something to this world to suffer and to die. That's what you're doing. Let's be real here, guys. When you bring somebody into this world, you're bringing them here to suffer and to die. That's life. To be given life is to be given death. With every birth certificate comes a death certificate. Not just death. Because there's far worse things that can happen to people than just dying. Living this life is worse than death, if you really think about it. At least death, you're not suffering. There's no misery. There's no pain. Right? But when you're here on this earth, every day is suffering and pain. You know, the Buddha taught life is suffering. Consciousness is suffering. Your entire life is some degree of suffering. Every day, every moment, some degree of suffering. You're suffering somehow. Sometimes you're suffering a little, sometimes you're suffering a lot. And some people who are watching this video are suffering very little. And so they might tend to think, when they hear me say something like this, oh, life isn't that bad, I've got lots of good things. But there's other people who are watching this video who are suffering immensely. So much so that and I wouldn't want this for anybody, but so much so that some of the people are watching it and asking themselves, should I just leave early? And I hope that any person who's going through those thoughts will seek help and find some type of comfort in their time of grieving. But man, I mean, I get it. I understand why some people check out of this game on their own terms. I understand. I'm not happy about it. I don't want to encourage it. You know. But I would be lying if I said I never once thought about at least the sweet release of death. Like, you know, not that I hope I would never, you know, do that or take that way out, you know. I'm hanging in here, so I would encourage anybody who's watching this video, hang in there. That's life does have its beautiful moments. Let's be real. So you're here now. So my only thoughts are I'm going to try to enjoy this as much as I can to whatever extent I can for as long as I can. But when it comes to the idea of bringing a new person into this world, a person who doesn't currently exist, bro, that's a horrible proposition. That's like I said, it's bad enough I gotta be here. Do I need to bring another person to experience this? No, that's. Some people say that, and I kind of accept this as true. Some people say that having a child should actually be considered child abuse. You're going to bring them to this hellhole, to this life, where for sure they're going to die. And that's the thing about life, guys. It's like, we're all going to die. We just don't know how. It's like a game, right? It's like a sick, twisted game. That's what life is. Born to die. This is life. Let's see if I show you what life is. Life is this. Up, down. Non-existence. You live a little bit. You make a little money. You work a lot of jobs you can't stand. Do a couple things, and then back to non-existence. That some people say life is a blessing. No, what's a blessing? Sleep is a blessing, because you can at least escape from this life for a little bit of time while you're asleep, assuming you're not in horrible pain throughout the night and you're waking up nonstop, and this kind of stuff. I heard somebody saying, I thought it was hilarious. They're like, my favorite memory from being young is not being in pain. As you get older, you're in pain all the time. You stand for too long, you're in pain. You sit for too long, you're in pain. You lay down for too long, you're in pain. It's like, why do I have to do this? Why? What's the point? It's like, really? So sleep is a blessing, right? If you can sleep. But a bigger blessing than that is death, if you really think about it. Because when you're dead, you got no pain at all. There's no pain. There's no misery. There's no suffering, right? But you know what the biggest blessing of all? The biggest blessing of all, ironically, is never existing in the first place. Think about it. They say this Earth's been here for billions of years. Do you remember any of that time? Do you remember the dinosaurs walking around? Do you remember the asteroid hitting? Do you remember any of those incidences? Do you remember what happened 5.6 billion years ago? No, because you didn't exist. There was no, you have no, when you're nothing, when it's nothingness is nothingness. You have no existence. You have no knowledge, you have no feelings, you have no senses. You don't exist. So if you really think about it, the biggest blessing is never existing in the first place. That's like, if you could think about the kindest thing you could ever do for another person, the most generous, the most selfless act you could ever do for another person, it's ironically not choosing to make them alive. That's the nicest thing you could ever do, because then they'll experience no pain, no suffering, no misery, no heartbreak, no depression, no anxiety, no none of those things. They don't when you don't exist, you don't experience any of those things. You don't have suffering. In contrast, probably the worst thing you could ever do to another person, the most nefarious and possibly even the most evil thing you could ever do for another person, is force them to come to this life. in the first place. You know, that's the thing about our lives. We didn't ask to be here. Our stupid parents, and nothing against my parents, I love my parents, but our thoughtless parents decided to have unprotected sex or whatever, and now we're here. We literally spawned into this life. We spawned into this life. We show up, and now it's nothing but pain and misery for the rest of the time until the day that we exit this world. And however that is, you know, it could be. I mean, you could think of a million ways that you could go. You know, best case scenario. This is the best case scenario of your life. You live a full life, 100 years. And you got to see all your loved ones, your friends and family, everyone else you ever knew die. You know, now you're the only one left. You don't know anybody. You're here. You're old. You're tired. You're ready to go. But life won't let you go. You just remain. And yeah, of course, you know, like I said, I don't want to trigger anybody or make anyone depressed. I'm just kind of sharing my thoughts and feelings out loud. You know, hopefully, maybe this speaks to someone and they can think to themselves, "Oh, you know, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy after all. Other people feel this way." No, you're not crazy, you guys. It's the world that's crazy. It's this life that's crazy. It's this reality that's insane. You're not insane. You're not crazy for feeling this way because, yeah, it is. Honestly, it's just sad. It's just sad. It's sad that we have to be here. It's sad that we have to endure this. It's just, you know, we live our whole lives paying bills and we have these fees coming on. You know, I got all this mail here in my mailbox. It's just like, I mean, all this, bills, fees, advertisements. I don't even open the mail. You know, I don't even know what I have in a mailbox. I just toss it all in the trash. You know, but that's what this life is. You're born, you come out of your mother's womb and you're in this life. It's cold, it's hot, you're upset, you're tired, cranky, hungry, and there you go. It all begins. You know, now you're on the hamster wheel. You're in the rat race. You're here whether you like it or not. Honestly, this life is basically just a torture chamber is what this is if you think about it. You know? You're constantly being told, alright, you can die any moment. You never know how. But in the meantime, let's give you a bunch of torture. Let's just torture you to death as well on top of it. You know? It's like... And that's assuming you're born healthy, you know. A lot of people, unfortunately, and I feel bad for them, you know. There's a lot of people born not healthy. They're missing body parts. Their brains are messed up. They've got sicknesses and diseases. And they didn't ask to be here. They're just they're spawned into this world because two inconsiderate people made a selfish decision to spawn new life. And it is selfish. There's really no other reason to have a child except for selfish ambition. I mean, you're clearly not thinking about the child. If you're thinking about the child, you would think about all the things that could and will eventually go wrong. And that alone should drive you as a caring, considerate person to say, no, I'm not going to do this to them. Like, the best father is the one that doesn't have any kids. Purposely, who intentionally does not have children. That's the best father. The best mother is the one who intentionally does not have kids. That's what Mother's Day and Father's Day should be about. It should be celebrating the people who chose not to have children. Now, some people don't have children just because they couldn't find a mate, or maybe they have other reasons why they couldn't have children. But this is, for people who otherwise could have had kids choosing not to have children. Honestly, those are the people we should be celebrating. Why do we need to bring more people into this disaster? Let this be it. Like, live your life, enjoy it the best you can, and then when you go, you go. No more suffering. No more suffering continued. That's what you're doing here with your kids. You're just passing on the suffering. You're pushing the suffering onto them. Now it's their turn to suffer. It's like, welcome to the world. Now it's your turn to get what I got. What's that? Suffering, pain, misery. You're gonna go through depression. You're going to go through mental disorders and mental health issues. And you're going to have health issues. You're going to get sick. You're going to get cancer, or whatever it is. That's literally what we do when we have children. You're born to die. That's what this is about. And why would any considerate, thoughtful person subjugate another person to that existence? It's like throwing a baby in a burning building. Would you throw a baby in a burning building? No, of course not. But that's what you do when you have children. You're literally, and this is not even a figurative, like, hyperbole or play on words. You're literally throwing your child into a burning building, which is life. Life is the burning building. It's going down. Everything's dying. Everything will die. Every single thing. One day, this planet will be like Mars is now, with nothing. And then at some point, the sun will go supernova and consume all the planets. And then the process starts over, and it goes on for a while. And then eventually, even the universe itself is going to die. All the energy is going to disperse through entropy. And the universe is going to be barren with no organization, just opaque. Nothingness. Meanwhile, we have to endure the shit show. And then we go and have children and put them in the situation, and now they have to go through everything too. It's literally a death sentence, guys. Like, literally. In this video, I'm going to be sharing why choosing to have a child, to create a child that has not been created, why that decision is the most selfish decision, the most short-sighted decision, and also the most evil decision. Yeah, it is the most selfish decision, because there's no selfless reason to have a child when you consider all of these factors. I tell people all the time, if I had a vote, if I could go back in time and get a vote with my parents, whether or not to bring me into this world, I would say, no, don't bring me here. Don't put me in this situation. I don't even want to experience anything. No experience is better than a mixed bag resulting in ultimate bad experience. Because when you die, it's like the worst experience, right? Like, death is the great equalizer. It's like, it takes everything. One day when you die, all the things you took pride in, all the work you did, all the subjugation, all the challenges you overcame, it's gone. Gone. It's mute. Born to die. That's what it is. Born to die. So yeah, I mean, there's no selfless reason to do that to somebody when you consider everything. When you consider everything, and I talk to people, and people think I'm crazy when I say this. Oh, well, there's so much to live for. Yeah, now that I'm here, like, of course I want to survive. But that's the real joke, isn't it? You're not going to survive. You're not getting off this planet alive. That's how it is. You're destined to die. You're destined to suffer in unimaginable ways. Destined to. It is a simple fact of reality. This is not even an opinion. This is a fact of life. You're going to suffer and die. That's what life is. You know, people are like, oh, that's crazy. And I'm like, well, yeah, from your perspective right now. Yeah, of course, from my perspective right now, life is not bad. I mean, I happen to be healthy, happy, whole. You know, I've got my share of issues going on, you know, much of which I have zero control over. And that's the other thing, too. It's like you have no control over anything. Like, really, at the end of the day, most of what happens to you is just sheer luck and probabilities, statistical probabilities. You know, you have very little. People don't realize how little control you have over your own life. Like, just I didn't choose to be born at this time, in this country, in this situation, to my family. This is all chosen for me. Right? And that's what makes the decision to have a child so selfish. Because when you consider all of this, and also consider the fact that you're not asking this person whether they want to be here or not. You know, it's one thing if you could lay out their entire life for them, right? And, you know, have a conversation before they become conscious. And lay out their entire life, everything. All the good, the bad, the ugly, the death. And you could lay it out for them in a binder, show them a video of their entire life, and then say, knowing all of this, do you want to be conscious? Okay, cool. Well, if the person says yes to all that, that makes sense, okay? But you can't do that, can you? You can't ask permission from your child, whether your non-existent child, if they want to be alive. And even if you could, you can't show them everything. And even us, we don't know everything yet because we haven't died yet. We haven't died yet. You don't know what is awaiting you in your life. It's like a cruel game. It's like what terrible thing can happen today? What terrible thing can happen tomorrow? It's like, you know, what terrible thing could happen in 5 minutes? You know, I'm driving on this road. Somebody could get into an accident, cause me to get into an accident. Next thing you know, I'm quadriplegic. You know? I have sympathy for anybody who's gone through those things. This is not, I don't mean to say it lightly, but it's also true. Like, it's like life is like a horror movie. It's like the worst horror movie because it's like a Final Destination 24/7. You're living that. You're literally like, this is not even a figure of speech. Every day you're fighting to survive. Your body is literally fighting to survive at all times. Within your body, there's a war going on at all times. It's like a microbial wars. Right? The cells in your bodies are fighting for survival. Your whole body is built to fight for survival. That's literally what our bodies do. You know? Everything we do is fighting for survival. And so when you take all of this into account and the fact that you can't ask for consent to bring a person here, when you combine those two facts, those two sets of facts, that means that there is no selfless decision to bring a child into this world. Every child is born from selfish ambition. There's no other way to look at this, guys. I want someone to carry on my legacy. I want someone to carry on my name. I want someone to take care of me when I'm older. I want someone who needs me. I want someone to love me. Eyes. The list goes on. I mean, seriously, if you're thinking about having children, you don't have any. Make a list of the reasons why. And then make a list of all the things that could go wrong. You're going to find two things. First and foremost, the list of the reasons why are always going to be selfish. And the list is going to be very short and shallow. But the list of all the things that can and will certainly go wrong is endless, infinite. You'll never get done with that list because it just goes on and on. All of the things that could go wrong and that will, in fact, for sure, 100% go wrong is literally infinite. So yeah, choosing to have a child is the most selfish decision ever. You're literally creating this child to put them into a burning building, which is life. And our society holds it up about love and all this kind of stuff. No, it's not love. There's no love involved in the decision to have a child. It's not. You can fool yourself to believe that if you want to. I did for a long time. I've had a couple of kids myself. It's like, and some people's gonna be like, oh, well, that's easy for you to say you've had kids. Point well taken. You know, obviously, you know, I can't undo the past, and now that I know my kids and I've had them, I wouldn't undo the past, obviously, right? Like, it is what it is. But having more kids? No way. You gotta be certifiably insane to know the truth about life and still choose to have kids. Like, it's literally the most selfish decision you could ever make. The true heroes are the ones who choose not to have children intentionally. Those are the true heroes. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, very selfish. Very selfish. Intentional parents are by definition the most selfish people on the planet. Right? They're literally torturing, it's sadistic, basically. If you really think about it, it's sadistic. Like, thanks, mom and dad, now I'm here. Now I gotta pay bills. I gotta do all these things. You have to do all these things just to survive. And then on top of that, the way this life is so corrupt, we literally pile on suffering. Oh, now we need to give you this bill and give you this. Oh, and you got to do this, and you got to go to school here, and and we lock our kids in school. What about schools? We should call them prisons. Really, is what a school is. You know, it's like, oh, now you have to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to, you know, And meanwhile, the kid is thinking, I didn't even ask to be here, bro. Like, you're literally like, now I'm here. Selfish. Very selfish. The most selfish decision you could ever make. Right? And then it's also short-sighted. Right? Having kids is a very short-sighted set of decisions, because not only you made this super selfish decision with all these selfish reasons and ambitions, have somebody carry my legacy, my name, my bloodline, my DNA, have somebody who's going to need me, want me, take care of me. You know, these are things that people put on their list of reasons why they want to choose to have children. And then it's all short-sighted because you have zero control. Like, you have basically next to no control, right? Like, you can't control if your child's going to be born with a genetic disorder or sickness or illness or disease or just a very shit hand in life. You know, like, on top of that, making them born into a poor family. Those are some obvious things, but you can't control pretty much any of that, right? So this whole idea you're going to have somebody carry on your legacy, carry on your DNA, carry on this, do this, you have basically no control. I mean, you have less control with that than pretty much anything else. You know, if I get a car like this, at least I can change the oil, change the tires, rotate the tires, take care of the maintenance, and I pretty much can pretty well guarantee I'm going to have a vehicle that lasts a long time, right? I mean, there's still a lot of variables there. You could have a defective engine, defective vehicle parts, you could have recalls, you can have all kinds of things happen that are beyond your control. But overall, it's a car, it's an inanimate object. So you have a lot of control over the scenario when it comes to a car. But when you have when you bring a life into this world, this is not an inanimate object. No, this is a lifelong commitment that you cannot undo. No matter what, you can never undo that decision. So it's got eternal principle, consequences, at least lifetime consequences for you and the child. You know, you're both locked in the cell block. You're having a child in a prison, basically. And you have basically no control over what this child is going to do or become. You know, this is what a lot of people don't realize about having kids. It's like, outside of the personal cost that, you know, which we'll talk about in a second, you have no control. You're bringing a person into the world with their own personality, their own thoughts, their own ideas, their own way of looking at the world, their own preferences. You know, like, they may or may not listen to you. They may or may not cooperate. You know, it's like how, imagine if your car became sentient. You know, like, imagine every car was a living organism with its own desires, goals, objectives, all this kind of stuff. And, you know, you're like, all right, we need to get the oil changed. And the car just says, nah, I'm not changing the oil. I don't want my oil changed. I don't want my tires rotated. Nah, I don't want to get clean. Imagine that. Like, okay. So, I mean, you're hoping the car wants to get the oil changed, but if it refuses, this is why they say you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You know? All of a sudden your car just loses the will to live. What are you going to do? Won't let you change the oil. It won't let you rotate its tires. It won't let you do any of those things because it doesn't even want to be here anymore. What are you going to do? How can you control the scenario? You know? Jeez, honestly, it's sad, bro. This life is sad. The whole thing is a sad experience. You know, and I say that with a smile on my face because, you know, we're here. I'm here. So I try to make the best of it. You know, videos like this. I don't mean to get anybody down or trigger anybody, you know, because I don't want anybody to harm themselves or other people. But at the same time, hopefully this is like a breath of fresh air for you. If you're kind of thinking these things, you may feel like you're crazy at times. You know, you're not crazy. It's the world that's crazy. It's this life that's crazy. And it can make you feel like you're crazy because everyone else is walking around like sheep, just walking around doing, oh, gotta clock in, gotta clock out, gotta do, you know, follow the rules, you know, go to school, do this, do that, and you know, like you're thinking in your head, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're attacking each other, we're fighting each other, we're bragging to each other. All these things we're doing for what? Just to die? So hopefully a video like this at least helps someone else feel like they're not alone, because you're not alone in your thoughts and your feelings, because this is life. It's a shit show, then you die, basically, you know. But it's one of those things where it's like it's completely short-sighted decisions to have a child, to bring a child into this world. You're bringing them to what? They're going to have their own opinions. They may not want to carry on your name or your legacy. They may not want to carry on your DNA. You know, you have like Elon Musk's daughter/son has said, I don't want to be associated with him anymore. At all. Her own father, or their own father, I should say. So, short-sighted. Like, many kids grow up to hate their own parents. And at the very least, many people at least experience times where they resent their parents. And most people don't even know why they resent their parents. You know, most people don't even think about these things. Most people just live their lives and don't even really think about these things on any deep level, and they don't understand why they feel the way they do because they have never really thought about it. But yeah, there should be a healthy bit of resentment from all of us for our parents. Like, pretty much every day at some point, I'm like, why? Why did my parents decide to put me here, bro? Like, knowing what they know, knowing everything they've experienced, they still put me here? All of us, you know, we're all here because our parents decided to make an idiotic decision to bring us here. Yeah, I mean, it's natural. It's natural to feel like that, right? And it's like, it makes sense. It just seems like it's inevitable, you know? And you have this child who may not even like you. You know, the last thing they want to do is wipe your ass when you're 70, 80 years old. You know, that's not something anybody's looking forward to doing, having to be by the bedside for months, years, keeping you alive, spoon feeding you, you know, like you're a baby, a grown ass adult baby, you know. No thanks, bro. No thanks. Do not pull the plug, please, on me. But people think about this. People think these ideas. They think, oh, yeah, I'll have somebody take care of me. Not even thinking about the fact that what if this person doesn't want to take care of you? Like, this is a whole individual, new person. They may not even like anything you like. They may hate all the TV shows you watch, all the movies you watch. They may hate everything you do. Yeah, I mean, short-sighted. So short-sighted. That when you consider the scope of what we're discussing here, the absolute and total misery and horrors that they're going to experience because of your selfish decision, and now they're forced with the consequence. Here, take all this stress, kid. Put it on your shoulders. You take it now. And then you're upset when the kid doesn't want to see you, when the kid's not around. Well, that's because they're busy trying to survive. You know, they're paying bills, going to work, fighting every day, you know, fighting to survive. Every day, constant. They wake up, they're tired, they don't want to wake up, but they got to because they got to go to work, and they got to go pay the bills, and they got to make sure they have a house, they should have food, all, you know, the constant struggle to survive every day. And yeah, so maybe they don't really have time to come see you at the nursing home or come see you at your house while you're sitting there watching evening drama shows, or watching your YouTube, watching your Fox News, or whatever it is. You know, they got their own life to live, because if they don't, they're going to end up homeless. They're going to end up with no teeth. They're going to end up with health problems, you know, which is inevitable anyways. All this is all inevitable. It's prescribed by the parents. So, yeah, you kind of get, it's kind of like, you kind of getting what you deserve at some point, you know, on some level. You kind of deserve to be mistreated because of the mistreatment you inflicted on them by bringing them here in this planet in the first place. It's kind of karma if you really think about it. You know, not that any of us should abuse or mistreat our parents. You know, I mean, I try to you know, show love and respect to my parents as much as I can and as often as I can. You know, because, you know, having them is like, having family, you know, that you're born with, you know, that cares for you. That's kind of like a free bingo. slot on the bingo card. You get that one chip, It helps make life, anything to help life be less unbearable and reduce suffering. Hey, in my opinion, it's a good thing. Like if there's anything in your life, people, your parents are with you, take advantage of that time. That's all I can say on that. Consider that some salve to go on the wound of life, to help you kind of ease through, So yeah, incredibly short-sighted. And we haven't even discussed the actual cost to you as an individual to have children. Like once again, this is a lifelong decision to have a child. It's gonna carry with you for the rest of your life. You're always good. When you have a child, you're taking your misery and your suffering that you already have, and then what you're doing is you're multiplying that. Now you're gonna give them misery and suffering, and guess what? That's gonna be on your shoulders as well. So now you're constantly worried, stressed, frustrated. And yes, of course, you have happy moments. So don't get me wrong. Having a child can be one of the most rewarding experiences a person can have, which is also ties into the selfishness of it, because a lot of times people have children because they want to experience being a parent. They want to experience having this eternal bond or love to this person, right? Once again, all selfish ambitions. So, but you don't think about all the other things. Now you've got another person you're always worried about, you're always thinking about, that if you don't hear from them from a couple of days or a couple of weeks, you're worried, you're stressed. Now they got bills too, you're going to have to help them with bills. We haven't even talked about those things. They say the average child costs about $250,000 over the course of your life. Meanwhile, you only have a very decent car. You don't have a home that you live in, but you got kids. You have the second kid. That's $500,000 total. That's obviously the cost of the kids does go down a little bit more you have, but still, you're somewhere in the area of 100, depending on how many kids you have, $100,000 to $250,000 of expenses, just money expenses. Not even talk about the time and energy and the attention. You only have so much of that in your life to give out. It's like your life is like a battery, right? So over time, your money, energy, attention, and time deplete. With every day that goes by, your battery is depleting slowly. Sometimes you can do things to recharge it a little bit, so you can have a successful business, and all of a sudden your money levels go up, or whatever. Or if you make healthy decisions, maybe you can extend your energy and attention and time. But it's all going down. And then when you have a child, it just drains it. You get gray hairs early in life. You get sickness, disease. God forbid something happened to one of your children, they pass away before you. That's one of the scariest, and that's one of the most heartbreaking experiences you can experience as a human, is to have one of your children that you love supposedly, go away through an accident, depression, self-deletion. Any number of things could take that person out of the equation, and now you're left, holding them and holding that memory. You hear about people who outlive all their kids. Oh my God, what a curse. To outlive all of your kids, to have to see the result of your decision in its fullness. At least if your kids outlive you, you don't have to actually see all of the misery that they have to endure. But when your kids die before you, you're faced with the brutal truths. You caused that. Now, you didn't necessarily want that for them, but you caused it. You set all that in motion when you decided to create them. Right? So yeah, completely. It is like one of the most short-sighted decisions you could ever make, because of all these ramifications and consequences. The pros and cons are not there. Where are the pros at? I'm not seeing the pros. I see a lot of cons, an infinite number of cons, but not a lot of pros. And really no pros if you think about it. When you put all that into the equation, it spits out the answer. There's just not a good reason to have the child, to make a child. So yeah, it's so short-sighted. So short-sighted. Like, really, like if you think about it, it's just, there's really no other more short-sighted decision you can ever make, because of the autonomy and because of the free will and these things. You have such little control. You know, you hear stories about families, beautiful families, happy, healthy, wealthy, and you hear stories about their kids becoming drug addicts or criminals or murderers or depression, suicide. Even in the happiest, healthiest homes, these things happen. The most successful people, picture perfect families, and meanwhile, their child ends up, God forbid, taking their own life. You know, this stuff does happen. And then you ask, and nobody's brave enough to ask this question, but the question should be out in the ether, which is, was it worth it? You know? Was it worth it to put them here in that situation? And many people will say, yeah, I still would have done it. It's good. You know, because they're not being honest. They're not being introspective. They're not actually thinking about everything. Right? They're still thinking in the selfish, short-sighted way, because they haven't actually considered what non-existence actually means. See, many people think that existence is better than non-existence, but it's not. It just simply can't be. Non-existence is always going to be the best position when it comes to suffering, because the non-existent can't suffer. They don't experience suffering. Yeah, so very short-sighted. And then, of course, it is the most evil decision that you could ever make. It's the most evil thing you could ever do to another person, right? Like I said, you're literally throwing a baby in a burning building. That's what life is. Burning building. It's burning down. Everything is coming to an end. You just don't know when, you don't know where or how, but it's coming. The worst horror you could imagine is on its way. You just don't know when and where. And so every day you walk around on pins and needles, and you're careful that you don't trip and fall, that you don't do this, that you don't, and next thing you know, you're taken out by something silly. You know, I think about my sister is a nurse, and she told me a story about like a 25-year-old woman who was cleaning out a fish tank, and she was carrying the fish tank, and she slipped, and the fish tank broke. Next thing you know, whoosh, her head was cut clean off. You know, 25 years old. You know, I'm not laughing because the situation is funny. I'm just laughing because I'm kind of chuckling, because this is what we're told. We're told, oh, life is beautiful. Life is this. Like, have children. For what? For what? So they can be tortured and die too? So they can have to face mortal reality? No, thank you, bro. I would choose non-existent and I'm just being honest. That's all I can do. I can't tell you for you, but I can just speak for myself. Non-existence is always the preferred for me. Like, if I could have non-existence, if I could have never have come to this planet, God, that sounds like a dream. Like, really? I mean, it is like a dream. It's like, I mean, it's better than a dream, you know? During a dream, you can have, like, scary stuff happen, right? Like, you can have, like, jump scares in a dream, or things not go perfect in a dream. But, you know, non-existence, you don't even have that. You just literally non-exist. You're nothing. There's nothingness. You have nothing. No memories, no ideas, no feelings. You don't exist. But no, we have to bring them into the torture chamber. We're literally in a torture chamber, and we're thinking to ourselves, you know what? Let's bring a kid into this. Like, that's evil. How else can you put it? You're in a torture chamber, and in your mind, do you think the best course of action is to bring a child into the torture chamber? Yeah, let's have kids. Let's have kids right here. Into the torture chamber, into the death chamber. You know, let's just bring them in here. You know what? Let's bring 2 or 3. Let's bring 5. Let's bring 10. We're not experiencing enough misery as it is. Let's multiply the suffering. That's what they say. They say that bringing that having, like, introducing consciousness into the world is to multiply suffering. That's what it means. That's evil, bro. Like, you're in a torture chamber. You're in a jail cell. You're waiting death. You're guaranteed to have mortal suffering. And we're going to have more kids. We're going to just bring them in. Bring in the kids. Bring all the kids in. We want more kids to come and suffer and come and die. How is that incorrect, what I'm saying? That is quite literally what we do when we have children, when we choose to have a child. Bring them in to the slaughterhouse. That is life. No, that's evil, bro. That is the most evil. That's the most evil. To throw a baby in a burning building is one of the most evil, vile acts that a person can do. And yet, when we take an introspective, honest look at what life is, we see that that is exactly what is happening when you have a child. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to say it. Don't have children. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. And most importantly, if you don't care about yourself, if you don't care about the impact it's going to have on your life, don't do it to them. Like, really, don't do it to them. If you want to love your children, don't make them alive in the first place. That's how you love your children. That's how you show the greatest care and consideration. Even if you want to have kids for non-selfish reasons, and you really do care about those children, the kindest thing you could do is not make them alive so they don't have to experience this. Don't bring them into the gas chamber with you. Don't bring them into this hellhole, into this life where they're going to suffer. Like, you know they're going to suffer. You know it's a fact. But so many people, bro, just put their heads in the sand. Pretend like none of this is true. Oh, you're just being pessimistic. You're being negative. Am I? I'm not being negative. This is just, I'm being realistic. I'm speaking truth. But people want to put their head in the sand. Pretend like it's not true. Pretend like everything is okay. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. You know, you're missing love. You're missing these things in your life. What does love have to do with being in a gas chamber or a torture chamber? If you love the child, you wouldn't bring them there. Like, I don't understand what where the equation is incorrect. And it's just sad, bro. It's sad that we're programmed to think this way. It's really a biological trick, is what it is. Biology is tricking you, fooling you before the fact. You gotta have kids. You gotta pass on your DNA. And nobody ever stops to think, why? For what reason? Like, You just must do it. Your body's telling you this. Your biology is telling you, you must have kids. You must find a mate. You must have children. If you don't have children, the world ends. No, bro. No way. But nobody ever really stops to think that. Nobody ever stops to think, why? Why should I? For what reasons? Are there any good reasons? Any non-selfish reasons? Any non-short-sighted reasons? Because I'm not seeing any. You know, it's like, it's insane. It's literally, to me, it's like the definition of an insane act. You literally have to be insane to want to bring life to this earth, to this life. You clearly have not thought at all about it before you did it. And so biology is trying to trick you before the fact. And then after the fact, many people cannot handle the truth. Many people cannot handle the immense amount of guilt for doing it after the fact. You know, most people who have kids will never tell you these things or never speak these things, because to even think these things, for most people, they think that there's something wrong with them. Right? So their own egos and their own pride cannot bring most people will never be able to come to the point where they'll be able to say the words that I'm saying to you. They can't. Because like for me, for instance, I've had a couple of kids. For me to admit these things is to experience it, like to process all of this has taken me a lot of internal fortitude to be able to admit I was wrong. I made a poor decision. Once again, I love my kids. And now that they're here, I'll do anything for them that I can. And I will always feel that way. And truth be told, they are the greatest joys of my life. Having my kids is the greatest joys of my life, but it also comes with the heavy weight of responsibility. Heavy burden of responsibility, because now everything that they experience negative in their lives, I should, as a thoughtful person, I should be recognizing that I bear that responsibility on my shoulders. When they're going through hard times, when they're going through suffering, pain, misery, depression, sadness, anxiety, broken hearts, and maybe even, God forbid, something happens to them and they pass before me, all of that weight of responsibility is on me and my selfish decisions, my short-sighted decisions, and yes, even my, truth be told, evil decisions to force them into this life without their consent. And that burden, guys, is almost too hard to bear for most people. And so most people will put their head in the sand and pretend like nothing's wrong. Pretend like they did nothing wrong. And even flip the script and take pride in their decision to have a child. Oh, I'm a good member of society. I'm helping the species. Meanwhile, all of that pain and misery that they created is propagating through the universe. And this is a heavy burden of responsibility that could drive even a normal person to literally go insane by pushing that down and pretending like everything's fine. There's nothing wrong. Meanwhile, the building is on fire. And your poor, innocent, sweet little child is laying there experiencing all of it, and you're trying to pretend like you did nothing wrong. No, if you have a child, if you bring a child into this world, you were wrong. And that's not an opinion, that is a simple fact of the world. So if you're thinking about having children, you're getting pressured to want to have children, just say no. Just say no. Love your kids by not forcing them to have to endure this life. It's bad enough that we have to. Don't do that to someone else. And if you have to lose a relationship over this, if somebody is not understanding this, guys, that person is either not a good person or they're not a thoughtful person. And if you have to say goodbye to somebody because they want to walk because of that reason, you just saved yourself. You just dodged the bullets. You dodged the bullets. Be grateful. Be grateful that you didn't have to endure endure that process. You know, live your life the best you can. Enjoy it as much as you can, of course. But don't force another person to have to go through the same thing. So with that, from one traveler to the next, I truly wish you the best. I wish you the happiest life that you can experience in this hellhole we call life. And I hope that I hope you have a wonderful rest of your life. And please, please, as Bob Barker would say, don't forget to get yourself spayed and neutered. Be good, guys.